Hello world, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to set up an Ubuntu server as a primary domain controller, or a PDC. I'm using the same Ubuntu server that I've used for everything else. This Ubuntu server, I installed a LAMP server on it and WordPress, however that doesn't really affect this. And I also installed Samba on this in a previous tutorial. So if you'd like to know how to install Samba, just go ahead and watch that tutorial. I did a little bit of editing of the script, the smb.conf, but not terribly too much. So, but you know, if you want to see what I did, just go ahead and watch that tutorial. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and log in here. I actually want to run a ton of things as the root or sudo, so I'm going to type in right off the bat, I'm going to type in sudo sh. This is just going to allow me to run everything as sudo without typing in sudo for all my commands. It's a nice little feature. I don't think that I've showed anyone that in my videos, so... Alright, and I want to edit right off the bat, I'm going to edit the Samba configuration file, the SMB. So I'm going to open up VI and do it in that. It's in the etc folder. Alright, so lucky for us, this is the newest Samba configuration file, and you'll notice there's a ton of stuff already typed in here, but there's either hashtags or semicolons in front of it, and that just means that it's commented. But a lot of code is commented, but all you have to do is delete the hashtag and then the code will execute and it'll work perfectly. So we don't have to do a ton of typing, we just have to delete some hashtags. But as I'm deleting the hashtags, make sure that your code is there. And if it's not there, you need to type it in to make sure that your Samba works correctly. So the first thing that I'm going to change is workgroup. This is going to be whatever the domain is. So I'm just going to type in test. It could be test.com or yourdomain.com. I'm just going to go ahead and use test. All right, I'm going to keep on moving down. Make sure that the server string is there. That's an important part. It was already there for me, so I'm just keeping it there, but that's important for that to be there. If it's not, your Windows machine is going to have a hard time recognizing it. So. Alright, we're going to move right on down here to make sure that the log files are there. They should automatically all be there. Security, I'm going to change this back to user. It was initially user, and I changed it for my guest share account. I changed it to share, and I'm actually going to just delete my guest share. So I'm just going to go through here and delete all this. I created this in the previous tutorial that I have up on YouTube, so... Alright, I do want my password encrypted, so make sure that that is there for you. I'm going to move down here. The domain logins, I'm going to make that yes. And I also want to create some new things in here. I want this to be a domain master and a local master. This is just telling the computer and the server that this is the actual primary domain controller. Oftentimes you'll have two primary domain, not two primary domain controllers, but you can have like a BDC or a backup domain controller and a primary, and you need to distinguish one from another. So everything that I'm typing in here is just telling the computer and telling the server that this is the primary domain controller, the master one, the main one. This is what everything should be going to. Now, Samba is great for what we're using it for. However, it's good for like 250 users or so, and you can do some tweaks to this configuration file to maybe get it a little bit past there, but you don't want to go too much past that. You can use more like LDAP in combination with Samba to get lots of users. So the login path, I do want like XP users to be able to save backgrounds and bookmarks and stuff like that, and all that needs to be saved in a profile, all of the users they created. So we want definitely a login path to be created to the profile, and I also like the users to have H drives. I'll talk about a little bit more why those are so great, but for now I'm just going to go ahead and delete the hashtags so those are there. And also I do need to add the machine script. So the machine script is very important. Every time a computer joins the domain, the server needs to be able to recognize that actual computer's host name or the machine name. And if it doesn't, it needs to be added. This little script automatically adds the machine to a group that exists that's called machines. We haven't created that group yet, but we'll create it a little bit later. You can manually do this. However, if you get a new PC or a new computer is joining the network, it'll just get all these weird errors or it won't be able to join. This way, new computers can join the network safely and they'll automatically be added to the machine group. So I'm going to uncomment that. Move on down here. I'm going to move into the share section. Again, any of the things that I have, if you don't have these in your SMB configuration file in your comments, you need to actually type them in. Just make sure that you have everything typed in exactly. Make sure that your smb.conf file looks pretty much the same as mine. So I do want home, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. And I'm actually going to add something. This is going to be the H drive, and I do want the H drive to be writable. Normally it's just a read-only directory, but I actually like my users to be able to write to it and stuff. So write only. I'm also going to delete the semicolons for the net login. Make sure that, and you can add scripts and stuff that automatically run. That's great for the net login. So if you want to configure a system a specific way when it boots up or something like that, the net login is great, and it automatically hits that path home Samba net login. So just perfect for that. All right, profiles are something that I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but I definitely want them. So I'm going to delete all the hashtags there, make sure those are there. All right, that looks about right. So I'm going to quit, hit WQ to quit. Excellent. All right, like I said before, I need to have a group for the machines. So I'm going to type in group add. Whoops, I typed that in a little bit correctly. This is just every time a different machine joins the server, the host name or the machine name gets added to this little group. All right, I did reference some directories in that Samba configuration file that don't exist, so I need to make those directories. Let me make the directory net login. I'm gonna make the directory for the Samba profiles. And I also need to chmod that, or give those specific folders rights for Samba to be able to write to them and read to them. All right, I did that. Perfect. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some users. So I'm going to add the user test. I use that -m there. That actually just creates the home directory. Type in user add -help, or it's actually -help or -h to be able to learn all the different things you can do with adding users and stuff. So I'll add the user, and that just adds it to my Ubuntu box or my Linux box. But I also create a password there. I also need to add it to Samba. So now that I've added the user test to my Linux box, I'm going to also add it to Samba. So I'm going to type in SMB password and create a password for test. All right, so now it's in my Unix box or my Ubuntu server box, and I also added it to Samba. I'm also going to add the user root. I just like to log in as root. Previously, in older Samba versions, you had to log in as root the first time you logged in as a machine. I don't believe you have to do that anymore. However, I'm just accustomed to it, so I always add root as a SMB user, and I'm also going to add student as an SMB user. Whoops. SMB password -a and then student, and then I got to type in the password. Perfect. I spelled student wrong. Let me go ahead and try that again. There we go. That should work. All right, I'm going to reboot my system. You could actually just reboot Samba. You don't have to reboot your whole machine, but whatever. I'm going to reboot my server. So I'm going to launch XP now. And XP this is just a generic version of Windows XP. It says SP2 on the top, but it's not SP2. I ran all the updates, so I think it's SP3, whatever all the updates are. I should also mention that this is Windows XP Professional. Windows XP Home doesn't actually, it doesn't have the ability to join a domain. Same with Vista and Windows 7. You need to have the professional versions. So this is Windows XP Professional. But I didn't edit it in any way, so it's the generic one. So the first thing that I like to do is I like to go to run, type in CMD, and I like to just ping the server. If you're not able to ping the server, you're definitely not going to be able to join the domain. So make sure that you're getting some replies from the server. I just happen to know my server's IP address by heart, but if you need to look up your server's IP address, the ifconfig, run the ifconfig in your server, and you'll be able to figure out what your server name is. All right, so I'm getting some replies. So I'm going to right click on my computer, go to properties, click on computer name, and then click on change to be able to join the domain. I'll click on domain, and I'm going to go ahead and type in test. Test was what I typed in as the work group in the SMB configuration file. Hopefully you typed in something else like yourdomain.com or something. So like I said, I always like to log in as root to begin with, but I don't believe you have to do that anymore. I always set up a user as root though, and just log in root right here. Of course, I spelled student wrong, so it's going to give me an error. Let me try that again. Type in root and my password, student. All right, yes, welcomed. I must restart the machine. So I'm going to go ahead and start, shut down, restart. Well, this will give me a great opportunity to show you why profiles are so important and why I have all those directories. And also the nice thing about H drives. This is the way that most companies set up their servers and stuff like that, but it's just really nice being able to go from one computer to another and have all of your background images and your bookmarks and stuff follow you. So I need to log into this. So I'm going to go to machine, hit Control Delete. I'm actually going to need to click Options down here and make sure I log into the test server. I'm going to log in as test to begin with. So notice as I log into test, it's going to take a couple seconds the first time that I log in as any user because it needs to build a profile for me, and it's going to save that profile in the directory that I specified in the SMB configuration file. In that profile, it's going to have everything that, however I customize Windows, all of that gets saved in there. So when you move from machine to machine, all of your customizations move with you. The other nice thing that's going to be in there, I'll show that to you. I'm just going to go ahead and change the background image so that you can see that test actually has a different background image than the other users logging into this machine. We can go into here and we can see the H drive. So the H drive is this directory that's saved on the server. It's not actually saved on the local computer. So you can move from computer to computer, but all of your files will come with you. So my users generally have documents and everything that they have, they just go ahead and save in their H drives. All right, I'm going to log out of this, and I'm going to go ahead and log in as a student, just so you can see that the H drives are different and that there's no background image, and I'm not just blowing smoke. All right, go to machine, Control Delete. I'll type in student. Just like before, it's going to take a second the first time student logs in. That's just how it goes. After this, logins will be a little bit more quick. It just takes a second the first time you log in to any user, setting up that profile. All right, you can see the H drive is totally different for student than for test. I'm going to go ahead and create a new text document in there. I'll log out, and then I'm going to log back into test to show you that the background image still stayed the same. And I'm doing this all on one computer, but you have to think about a user walking from computer to computer to computer, and all of their settings and all of their files moving along with them. It's really nice on a network. So I'll log back in here. Perfect. You can see the background has changed, and I have the Yes, the stuff is in the, the H drive. So, great. I think that about covers it. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and keep watching them. Thanks.